It's curious how a single gesture can shake the foundations of decades of alliances. When Donald Trump decided to get tough with Colombia, the world didn't just witness a diplomatic rupture. It witnessed the beginning of a global reconfiguration. What seemed like a one-off measure ended up paving the way for new protagonists to emerge, repositioning powers and challenging American hegemony. On the international political stage, every move has a price, but few see what's really being purchased. Trump has always understood the power of unpredictability. While some accuse him of impulsiveness, others realize there's method in chaos. This seemingly isolated decision created a void that rivals like China and Russia have not hesitated to fill. And it is precisely in this vacuum that history reinvents itself, because when one power retreats, others find room to grow. Colombia, once seen only as an ally, now becomes a key player in a much larger game. And before diving into this new world power board, take the opportunity to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because here you'll understand what most people ignore: the behind-the-scenes details of the decisions that are reshaping the political map of the planet. Each analysis brings a new perspective, a new truth hidden beneath official discourse. So get ready. What you're about to discover could change the way you view power. The political rupture, when the ally becomes a target. When an ally becomes a target, something deeper than diplomacy is at stake: power, pride, and global repositioning. Trump has always been known for his unpredictable stance, and his action against Colombia was no exception. Suddenly, what was once a solid partnership has become a strategic tension. It's like that longtime friend who, after a disagreement, begins to look across the table with suspicion. And in the political arena, distrust is synonymous with opportunity, for those observing from the outside. Behind this rupture lies a cold calculation. By toughening up with Colombia, Trump is attempting to reassert his authority and signal that alliances only last as long as they directly benefit the United States. This type of decision, though seemingly impulsive, has a psychological effect on the global stage. Leaders of other countries begin to understand that loyalty has an expiration date, and when this happens, new doors begin to open, especially for nations that know how to capitalize on the vacuum left by a power in a crisis of confidence. This rupture reveals a turning point in international relations. Old emotional pacts are giving way to agreements of convenience. Colombia, historically supported by Washington, now needs to redefine its role in the power struggle. And perhaps in this wave of uncertainty lies the opportunity to rewrite its political and economic destiny. But to understand how this unfolds and who is ready to step into this role, we must observe the domino effect that began to form immediately after this decision. The domino effect in international relations. When a power changes its stance, the world watches and reacts. Trump's actions against Colombia caused a shock that reached far beyond Latin America's borders. Governments that had previously remained neutral began to reconsider their positions, while the United States' historic rivals saw a golden opportunity. After all, on the global stage, each step taken by a giant can redefine the strategy of all the other players. Countries like China and Russia, which have long sought to expand influence in South America, wasted no time in discreetly approaching Bogotá. The promise of investment, technology, and infrastructure agreements began to sound tempting. It's like a diplomatic dance. When one partner pulls away, another reaches out. And in international politics, those who know how to offer support at the right time gain more than alliances. They build trust and a strategic presence. Interestingly, this movement isn't limited to presidents and ambassadors. It's reflected in markets, universities, the media, and even social media, where the discourse of a new global order is gaining momentum. The increasingly connected world reacts in real time to every tweet, sanction, or statement from Trump. And it's precisely this speed that accelerates the emergence of new blocs, new partnerships, and new ambitions. But to understand who these new players are, ready to enter the scene, we need to look at the next movement: the entry of new players into Latin America. The entry of new players in Latin America. The absence of the United States at certain negotiating tables opens the door for unexpected guests. And this time, the Latin American showroom is beginning to welcome new faces. China, for example, has been consolidating itself as a silent partner, offering credit, infrastructure, and technology agreements with a low-key diplomacy. It's like that patient investor who, while everyone else is fighting, takes the opportunity to buy undervalued but promising stocks. Russia, on the other hand, sees this vacuum as an opportunity to expand its military and energy influence. Equipment sales, security cooperation, and even educational exchanges are subtle ways of establishing roots. What was once the almost exclusive domain of the United States is beginning to transform into a terrain of strategic dispute. Colombia, realizing this, understands that it can negotiate better, with more cards in hand, and with less fear of retaliation. But the big shift comes when smaller countries also begin to reposition themselves. Mexico, Chile, and even Argentina are closely watching Colombia's move, understanding that a new geopolitical configuration is emerging. The old rules of the game are being rewritten, and whoever understands this first will come out ahead. However, to understand the real implications of this shift, not only political, but also economic, it is necessary to observe the direct impact this decision has on markets and regional alliances. The economic and geopolitical impact of the decision. No political decision happens in a vacuum, especially when it comes from the United States. Trump's action against Colombia had repercussions not only in cabinets, but also in economic indices. The dollar fluctuated, the Colombian peso felt the impact, and investors began recalculating risks. It's like when the captain changes the course of a ship. The passengers may not understand navigation, but they feel the rocking. This momentary instability generated both fear and opportunity for those who know how to read the market. From a geopolitical perspective, the measure broke with a decades-long tradition of cooperation in security and the fight against drug trafficking. Colombia has always been a key focal point for U.S. interests in South America, and weakening this alliance opens gaps that other countries are rushing to fill. U.S. influence in the region, already under challenge, now faces a stress test. And in global politics, an empty space never stays empty for long. While analysts are divided between seeing the decision as a mistake or a strategic one fact is undeniable. Latin America will never be the same after this rupture. The balance of power is beginning to shift, and new centers of influence are emerging with force. The question now is, who will dominate the new global chessboard that is taking shape before our eyes? Because the next move will inevitably reveal who truly understands the game. The new world power board. The world lives in an invisible chess game where the pieces shift faster than the eye can follow. Trump's action against Colombia was more than an isolated move. It was a gambit that shook the entire board. Each country now tries to protect its king and advance its pawns, while unlikely alliances form behind the scenes. International politics has never been a game of strength, but of patience, and those who understand this win without needing to attack. In this new scenario, power is no longer measured solely by armies or economies. It is defined by the capacity for adaptation. China, India, Turkey, and even emerging African powers are entering the scene with new proposals and worldviews. Meanwhile, the United States, amid internal debates and unpredictable policies, seems to be revisiting its own identity. The world watches and asks, is this the end of American hegemony, or merely a strategic pause before a new advance? Meanwhile, Colombia, seemingly a minor player, is becoming the epicenter of a global reconfiguration. What began as a one-off decision by Trump could become the trigger for a reshaping of global forces. And this is where the story gains depth, because every rupture carries within it the seed of a new order. But to truly understand what's behind this historic shift, we need to take a step back and understand the motivations, risks, and paradoxes of this political move. What's happening between the United States and Colombia is just the tip of the iceberg of a much larger transformation. The world is moving, silently but powerfully. Alliances that once seemed eternal are now crumbling like sand in your hands, and new power blocks are beginning to emerge. Perhaps we are witnessing not the end of one era, but the birth of another, more complex, more unpredictable, and much more contested. The question is, are you just watching history unfold, or are you truly trying to understand it? Because those who understand the inner workings of power also understand how the world influences every detail of their own lives. From the economy to freedom of expression, from security to opportunities. The right information at the right time can change everything. And that's why analyzing Trump, Colombia, and every piece of this global game is more than curiosity. It's strategic survival. So tell me in the comments, do you believe Trump has weakened the United States or repositioned it for something even greater? I want to hear your thoughts. And if this content resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because here we'll continue to uncover the hidden secrets that are shaping the world's future. The next chapter may be even more surprising than you imagine.